Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling something literally almost everyone has wrestled with at some point, and that is budgeting. We're pulling some absolute gold from simply saving more to figure out why most budgets crash and burn, and way more importantly, how to permanently fix yours. If you've ever had that late night burst of motivation, built the quote unquote perfect financial plan, and then watched it completely fall apart 2 weeks later, you're in the right place. We're going to tear down the old way of thinking, figure out exactly where the wheels fall off, and build a system together that actually works.
Look at this stat, 70%. That is a staggering number. That's how many people set up a budget and just walk away from it within a few months. Seriously, 70%. So first things first, if you've struggled with this, you are absolutely not alone. The vast majority of people who try this end up frustrated. But the reason for this massive failure rate, it's probably not what you think it is.
Because honestly, it's almost never about willpower or discipline. We love to beat ourselves up, right? We tell ourselves, oh, I just wasn't strict enough or I didn't try hard enough. But the reality is, failing at a budget is usually a system flaw. You didn't fail the budget. The budget was set up in a way that was destined to fail you from day one. So today, we're just wiping the slate clean, dropping the guilt entirely, and fixing the system itself.
Let's move to our roadmap and see how this builds. We're breaking this down into 4 parts. 1. The perfection trap. 2. Flawed mechanics. 3. The motivation missing link. And 4. Your formula for success. Okay, part 1. The perfection trap. So this concept brilliantly illustrates the number 1 reason budgets fail. We build these plans based purely on wishful thinking instead of, real life. You say, I'm going to spend exactly $300 on groceries this month because it sounds super responsible. But the reality? You spend $500 because snacks are delicious, and let's face it, life is expensive right now. If your budget doesn't reflect your actual habits, it's basically doomed. You gotta start by just tracking your actual spending for 30 days. Don't change a single thing, just observe. Then you can build your budget based on reality. And the ultimate fix for this whole perfection thing? Guilt-free spending. Seriously. If you strip all the joy out of your budget, sure, it might work for a couple of weeks, but then you have a miserable Tuesday at work, you impulse order some takeout, and boom, you're over budget, you feel like a massive failure, and you just quit. Building in a little buffer, even just $20 to $50 a week of fun money that you don't even have to track, makes the whole thing sustainable. Remember, a messy budget you can actually stick to will always beat a perfect budget you abandon. Now think about pushing a heavy boulder up a hill. Eventually, it's gonna slip. Everyone has a bad month. Maybe your car breaks down or a random medical bill shows up out of nowhere. It happens to everyone. But a bad month does not mean you failed. It doesn't mean your system is broken. It literally just means life happened. When it does, you don't quit. You simply hit reset. Treat the new month as a totally fresh start. The folks who actually win with money long term aren't the ones who never mess up. They're the ones who give themselves some grace, hit reset, and keep pushing. Moving right along to part 2, flawed mechanics. Now, what's really interesting here is how this totally solves the mystery of the quote-unquote unexpected expense. We all know the drill. Your regular monthly bills are completely covered, and then bam, the annual car registration hits, or a massive yearly insurance premium. Suddenly, you're hundreds of dollars in the hole. But here's the secret. Those aren't unexpected. They're irregular expenses. They literally happen every single year. So by taking that $600 registration and just dividing it by 12, it becomes a simple $50 monthly sinking fund. When the bill finally arrives, the money is just sitting there, waiting for it. No stress. So the crucial point is really summed up in this great saying, a budget without tracking is just a wish list. People love to create these beautiful, elaborate spreadsheets, feel super productive, and then completely ignore them until the very last day of the month. And then they wonder why they overspent. Checking in on day 30 is way too late to actually fix anything. If you want to keep the ship from sinking, you have to track weekly, not monthly. It literally takes 10 minutes on a Sunday. Open up a budgeting app, take a quick glance at what you spent over the last 7 days, and see how it lines up with your plan. Doing this weekly means you can course correct on the fly. If you went a little crazy at the grocery store by Wednesday, well, maybe you pull back on the restaurants by Friday. You're patching those tiny leaks before they sink the whole ship. And the last mechanical fix here is recognizing that this stuff is absolutely not one size fits all. If manually categorizing every single penny stresses you out, a strict zero-based budget is going to drive you crazy. You have to experiment and find a framework that actually fits your unique personality. Maybe it's the 50-30-20 rule. Maybe it's the old school physical cash envelopes. Or hey, maybe it's literally just paying yourself first and not even tracking the rest. The best method out there is simply the one you'll actually keep using. All right, part 3, the motivation missing link. Think about it like this. When you're standing in a store, completely wiped out after a long day, holding something you really, really want to buy, a black and white spreadsheet at home is not going to stop you. It has zero emotional pull, but a vivid, tangible goal, that will. Whether it's clawing your way out of debt, finally building that emergency fund, or saving up for a down payment on a house, you need a specific goal with a deadline, and you need to make it visible. Make it your phone wallpaper so it literally stares right back at you the exact moment you're tempted to swipe your card.
And look, a massive motivation killer is trying to change everything at the exact same time. We get all fired up and decide to overhaul our entire financial life in one single weekend. New habits, aggressive debt payoff, hardcore savings plan. It is entirely overwhelming. Don't do it. Take a stepped approach instead. Dedicate month 1 just to tracking. Once you nail that, roll out a basic budget in month 2. Then, by month 3, introduce the savings goal. Phasing these habits in gradually is the real secret to creating lasting change and preventing burnout. Because speaking of burnout, we have to acknowledge a hard scientific truth. Willpower is a limited resource. By the time Friday night rolls around, after a chaotic, stressful week, the motivation to manually log into your bank and transfer money to savings, it's just not there. If your financial progress relies entirely on your daily willpower, it's never going to happen consistently. So the ultimate fix for this lack of willpower? Automation. Make the good behaviors completely invisible. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account for the exact same day your paycheck hits. Automate your bills. Automate your investments. When the money moves itself before you even have a chance to look at it, willpower isn't even in the equation anymore. You don't need to feel motivated, and you never, ever skip it. And hey, don't try to do this entirely on your own. Budgeting in a vacuum is really tough. When your motivation naturally dips, and it will, having a budget buddy is a real game changer. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or even an online community, you need some accountability, someone to check in with, and honestly, someone to celebrate those little financial wins with. Which brings us to our final section, part 4, your formula for success. All right, let's tie this whole thing together. Straight from Simply Saving More, here is your master blueprint. We've diagnosed the old problems, shattered the myths, and now you have the tools to build a sustainable, foolproof system. Number 1, start simple. Number 2, be wildly realistic with your numbers. 3, always include some fun money. 4, track weekly. 5, automate everything you possibly can. 6, set visual goals you actually care about. And 7, expect setbacks, give yourself grace, and reset without the guilt. If you can lock in these 7 steps, you'll completely transform from someone who struggles with budgeting into someone who absolutely thrives on it. Remember, struggling with a budget in the past absolutely does not mean you're bad with money. It literally just means you needed a better system. And well, now you have one. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a quick question to chew on. Looking back at everything we've covered today, which of these budgeting mistakes has been your biggest trap in the past? And how are you going to use this brand new system to fix it right now?